Hey everyone, Egman here with another Top 10 Tuesday. Today we're going to look at the top 10 promo cards from 2017. This was almost on a list, but I think there's just enough cards for this that were released. It's I don't know, something with Bandai is like they released so many promos, and even though this game was only out for like 6 months of 2017, they definitely pumped out like almost I think 50 promos, which is crazy. So there are a good couple ones that I think a lot of you guys will recognize, and maybe some of you guys will be surprised that came out so long ago. So without further ado, let's start out with number 10.
Number 10.
We've got Bursting Energy Super Saiyan Vegito here. If I was being really honest, I'd say like we'd have 9 really good cards from 2017 promos, and then this guy. I was looking for a 10th card, and honestly, I put this one here because I bought like a playset of these when I first started the game because I was playing a really bad Vegito deck, and I thought this card was really cool, and it had some Self Awakening, which the deck super duper needed. But yeah, it's Union Potara for 2 blue and 2 unspecified on a Son Goku and Vegeta, which is a little bit costly, especially getting those guys on the board in the first place was kind of hard. But it has double strike, 25k, and activate once per turn. You can place 1 card from your life into your drop area, choose up to 2 of your energy, and switch them to active mode. So not a bad effect. Vegito really needed that Self Awakening, so that was a good boon for it as well. And just in general, it just felt like an okay card. You could also go into this guy from like the 5 drop, what is it, max speed, whatever, the 5 drop Vegito that mills the top 10, and you can play a 25k Vegito on top of it. This guy could qualify for that, so if you needed for some reason the extra 2 energy, or if you needed to Self Awaken, this was like a good alternative target for it as well. So not like a terrible card, but it didn't see too much play, and it's just really easily the 10th best card on this list.
Number 9.
Next up, we've got Chilling Terror Android 17. Very interesting card. We haven't seen an ability like this pretty much since, but it's a 3 drop Android 17 and permanent. If your leader card is an android, the opponent cannot draw with their leader card when their leader card activates Awaken. So this is a really interesting card. And back then it could be really good for like really disrupting your opponent, especially if you're already playing hand control with Cell. Additionally, the fact that it's an Android 17 with a zero combo cost was really important back then too, because they only had two. I think they only had 2 Android 17s from set 2. One was a 5k combo and one was a 10k combo. So having an extra 5k combo, in hand was super nice as well. So a lot of people put that out, and just because there wasn't as much destruction as there used to be, you could probably play this on turn 3 or 4 pretty convincingly, and your opponent would have a hard time getting rid of it without, especially since a lot of leaders don't do stuff on their awakened side, like or unawakened side. Like yeah, this could just really stall out and really make a grindy match for your opponent. So definitely only good if you're already ahead, but people still think about this card and applications for it now. It's just that kind of iconic ability that is yet to be really reproduced.
Number 8.
Next up, we've got Determined Super Saiyan Son Gohan. So this is a 4 drop, 15k, which is pretty underwhelming with crit, but also has this auto. When you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Just the fact that this was just generic removal in so many ways. This didn't even have, like, barrier wasn't a thing in the game yet either. So unless your opponent had like a cold bloodlust to stop this, you could just play this for 4, blow up anything, and now you've still got this 15k crit, Son Gohan out, and it was also an evolve target for the super rare Gohan that came out in set 2, which was a really good card back in the day because it was a good finishing condition and really stopped your opponent from comboing and was really oppressive in that way. So just generically good card. This ability, like when you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and KO it, has now been kind of power crept to better cards and easier cards to get out. But this was still kind of an okay card back in the day. And sure, 4 energy is super expensive now, but it still has its kind of idea of just being able to blow up your stuff. I don't think it's good anymore, but it was definitely a good card in green decks back then.
Number 7.
Next up, we've got Occupation of Evil Frieza. One of the kind of OG promos in a lot of ways. Summons the Golden Frieza Resurrected Terror as well, and it was reprinted in the anniversary box last year. But it's a 20k with double strike, 4 drop Frieza, which is also really important for the 2 drop Desire that just plays any 4 drop Frieza. So this is a good target for this. But active main, place 2 of your yellow battle cards other than this card in your drop. Choose up to 1 Golden Frieza Resurrected Terror from your hand and evolve it into this card. If you do so, draw 2. So this is just really a good way to cheat out the Golden Frieza, who's not like a terrible card in a lot of ways. You do have to, give up 2 of your yellow battle cards to do so, but can potentially clear a board and just set up a really good condition for you. And obviously this has been in Trader Dende for pretty much since the conception of it, since Revival of the Emperor is just such a good card, and just a 20k double strike for 2 energy is already good enough. But if you can threaten like a bigger win condition, you're in a really good spot. So really interesting card. Still, I think is a good card in Trader Dende, and like if we have any more like yellow Shenron decks come out, like this will easily be like relevant, or at least potentially relevant once again.
Number 6.
Next up, we've got Joyful Strike Goku Black Rose. This was one of the coolest cards in my opinion. It just was really interesting in how it worked and just fit its archetype so well. So it's a 6-drop Joyful Goku Black. It's double strike and auto. When you play this card, if you lead a card as a Zamasu Goku Black, you may inflict 2 damage to your life. If you do so, choose up to 6 of your energy and switch them to active mode. So the long story is that you essentially play this card for free, right? You do have to deal 2 damage, and it uses inflict because that's how Zamasu works. Whenever you're inflicted damage, so it works really well with the Fuse Zamasu leader. But you essentially get this guy out for free with you still get the 2 life also to your hand unless you're the Awakened Fuse Zamasu. Then you just have to mill 10 for it. But this is just a really good card, and you can just like keep chaining it as well. You can do it again. And just the fact that you can get this guy out for free is 25k, and then it can be used for a Union Patora on top of it is just very good. He was really strong. People still use it, and I think next set people will consider using it as well, since there's a lot of Goku Black and stuff support. And it'll be really interesting to see how that works out. But really interesting card. It's been reprinted a couple of times now, but back in the day, I remember I really wanted it because it was what really needed for the decks that it was played in, but you just couldn't. It was just too expensive for me at the time. So now it's pretty cheap, but definitely a cool card.
Number 5.
All right, breaking into the top 5, we've got Ginyu, the Reliable Captain. This kind of like minorly broke the game a little bit. So it's this 3-drop 15k, which meant that it was a Child's Wish target, which was already stupid. But permanent all Ginyu cards in your hand game evolve. Plus for 3 yellow energy and 2. But the most important thing about this card is when you play this card, choose any number of Ginyu Force cards from your hand other than Ginyu and play them. So if you've ever wondered why they've reprinted Ginyu Force archetypes twice in red and yellow and red and green in this next set, it's because this card exists. Just being able to play this guy and then just play any of your Ginyu Force from your hand is super duper stupid. It's not color restricted, it's not cost restricted, anything like that. It was definitely a 2017 card in that way. And so I don't know. This is definitely something they have to build cards around, and I could definitely see this card being banned in the future, just so they can have better archetypes with the Ginyu Force and not have to play around this card. It definitely had some good decks around it as well. They're all kind of cheesy, of course, but there's the Shenron Ginyu Force, and it worked well with a lot of the new the red ones as well. But you just you don't have to even play any yellow energy, since it's a 3k with 15 a 3-drop with 15k or less power. All you have to do is you just got to draw a lot of cards and then have this card in your drop area, and then use Child's Wish to play this for free, and then you just start bomb the board with all your guys, and it's like you just pretty much, unless they have like a Flying Nimbus or anything like that, you pretty much win the game on the spot. So really interesting card. It's cheap now. So if you think that they're a yellow green kind of Ginyu Force deck can maybe pop up again, buy now, I guess. But definitely a cool card, and definitely a troublesome card for balance, I think, for a while, and will probably continue to be that way until they finally get rid of this card.
Number 4.
Next up, we've got Ability Unleashed Ultimate Gohan. This card's not as good anymore, but this was definitely like a staple in red decks for a really long time. It was probably like the best 3-drop in the game for when it was around. So it just has this ability of auto when this card attacks, you may draw 1, and if you did not draw a card with the skill, this card gains double strike. So it's just being able to, you have like this condition, and you get to choose the best one, because it's always if your opponent activates blocker, you can just decide to not do double strike and just draw the card instead, because that's when it resolves. So just a standard good card, and then you could get this card out with Child's Wish as well. I think it kind of got overshadowed by like the Universe 7 Critical Burst Attack Gohan that came out like a year and a half later. But this was just a really good card for a while. This was from the I don't remember what they were called, but when if you showed up to events, you get this card for free along with your tournament pack cards. So I don't remember, it was like a dash tournament turn. I don't remember. They don't do it anymore. But I remember I came to events right after this card stopped being distributed, and it was very difficult to find for a long time. And I don't think I even have a playset now, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be. But it used to be pretty solid and a really good just tempo card for a very, very long time.
Number 3.
We've got Rapid Onslaught Super Saiyan Blue Son Goku. What a mouthful. So he's this card's been really good just because of its evolve cost. That's really the big thing about this card. It's an evolve for 1 blue and 2 colorless on any Son Goku. It doesn't have to be a blue Son Goku. It doesn't have to have a specific cost. And it becomes a 5-drop, which is really important for a lot of cards, especially UI Son Goku needs a 5-drop Goku. I think it has to be blue as well, but this is a 5-drop Goku that you can get out for technically 4 energy, because if you use like a 1-drop Goku and then evolve on top of this, you can cheat this out a lot easier, which is super nice. And so like in modern capabilities, that's why this card's been so good. And if this was like a more recent card, the evolve costs would probably be either 4 or it'd be like an EX evolve on a specific kind of Goku. But this was really early in the game, so they just put only 1 blue dot instead of 2, and this card became super duper good because of that. It also just has like its auto was good for a long time as well. It has double strike and auto. When you play this card, you may choose 1 card in your life and place it in your drop area. If you do, this card gains critical for the duration of the turn. And back in the day, especially like set 1 and set 2, matches were a lot grindier, and in that sense, especially since leaders didn't really gain advantage like for swinging like they do now, you would be really inclined to stall at your opponent at like 5 life or so. And there wasn't a lot of self-awakening tools as there are now as well, so it could be very difficult to kind of self-awaken yourself in the right circumstances. So being able to use Rapid Onslaught to self-awaken yourself is good, and then put pressure on your opponent is like another boon as well. So the card goes into your drop area, which kind of sucks, but if you need to awaken, you can. And it's not a needed cost too. So if you're just going into UI, then you can just play this card and then go into UI. So I think this is a good card. It's been good for a while. It's been also like super pricey for a while. It's finally gone down to like a couple bucks if you ever need them. Not that they're used too much anymore, but to the sense of these were only a dash pack from set 2, and they haven't reprinted it since I think they kind of realized they made a mistake, kind of like Ginyu. I think it's just a good card.
Number 2.
For number 2, we've got Clan of Terror Mecha Frieza. This card's bonkers and has definitely kind of rewritten a bit of the rules in a lot of ways. So it's a 20k Frieza with double strike, and then when you play this card, your opponent reveals their hand, choose up to 1 battle card among it, and your opponent plays that card in their battle area in rest mode. So like this used to be super good at sniping cards in general, and then when Trader Dende became a deck, this was pretty much the most important card of it, like that at least you can get from Revival of the Emperor. Being able to play this card for free, give it double strike, or having a 20k double strike for 0 energy if you use your free desire is great. Just being able to look at your opponent's hand in general is fantastic, and then it's very popular for you could just look at your hand, take out maybe like a super combo from their hand, play it in rest mode, and then you can swing into it, and if they want to save that super combo, they have to invest resources. It was just a very good hand destruction deck and just really good control deck that kind of locked in your opponent from, like, you could just see exactly what your opponent could do, and as long as you made the right play every time, you could win. And I felt like that's what made Trader Dende so good, and this was definitely the forefront of why the deck was so good. Being able to see your opponent's hand is a ridiculous effect. We don't have many cards that aren't good that look at your opponent's hand. But then also being able to play it and then potentially pop it or break it in a lot of ways is just very important too. So great card, definitely boosted by Revival of the Emperor, and definitely the second best promo of 2017.
Number 1.
And here we go. I don't know how much I want to talk about this card because it should be super duper obvious why it's number 1. But this is Mecha Frieza, and I totally forgot this card came out in 2017. I thought this card came out in 2018, but the first draft box in this game came out like November, December of 2017. So he is on the list, and to be honest, he is almost frankly the list. If you don't know what this card is, permanent when you activate an extra card, you may choose one card in your life and add it to your hand. If you do, reduce the energy cost of that card by 1 for the duration of the turn. If this card reduces the energy cost of an extra card to less than 1, you may activate the card without paying a cost. So you could just play cards for free, and you could do it on your turn, and you could do stuff like Sensu Bean for free, and it doesn't have to do anything with specific energy, and then you get actually card advantage for doing so, and then you can awaken super early, and then you get to get swings on your leader every turn, which was a big boon back in 2017 and 18. This card was just nuts, and it just was poorly. It was not made with future sets in mind at all, and it has the same thing on the awaken side, but it's 2 now, which is absurd. So you could like awaken, and then you could use like an objection for free, and then just put 1 card into your energy. And then like you just get free energy with that. It's just a stupid card, and like this card wasn't super duper good at the time, but when set 3 came out, especially with Shugesh being a legal card, and then like March of the Apes, like this card became broken in so many ways. They did eventually errata it for like this was like the biggest like meta disruptor the game had seen at the time. This was before ban lists were a thing. This was before erratas were to fix the game were a thing. But there was a big tournament in 2018 after set 3 came out, and like 90% of the decks, I don't want to overquote, it was definitely over 50%, and it was just an absurd percent of people were playing this leader because it was the best one. And so they ended up errataing it. After errata, permanent during your opponent's turn, on the front side, so you can't just keep doing Sensu Beans for free to untap an energy on your turn. You'd have to the front side ability is only on your opponent's turn, which is super nice. And then if you use the skill to add a card to your life, negate the skill for duration of the turn. So it's still like not a terrible card in a lot of ways, but you just can't awaken on turn 1 with just extra cards. So I think that's really all I want to say about this card. Because now, I mean, people don't use it as much anymore. It's still not like a terrible card, and I could see people going back to it and everything, but especially since there's more extra cards going around nowadays and more that can activate on our opponent's turn. But then it just kind of doesn't get as much value on its awaken side, just because it needs to have that kind of it just doesn't get much card advantage on the front side, which kind of sucks. But still a great card. Was awesome for a very long time. Definitely need to be errated, if not banned. I think errating was probably the right choice, but banning probably would have been fine as well. They really didn't want to ban cards, but then they made SS3. So what's the excuse there? So that's going to be at the list. I hope you guys enjoyed it and kind of just realized how old some of these cards are, especially this guy. I once again forgot this card existed in 2017, but because it's just known for being such a juggernaut in the summer of 2018. But that'll be it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if there's any cards that I did not add to this list, and I'll catch you all next time.